Okay, the recording is started now. So once again, I'm coming back to the presentation. Okay. So far we have completed the discussions of what the history of COBOL program, and then next one is about format of COBOL program. I don't know whether it would be possible to complete all the slides within 10 o'clock, but I will try to complete as much as possible. Okay. Then now that we're going to discuss about format. So in format of COBOL program, um, so actually here we are mentioning it as what high level language, but we have another name for this particular COBOL language. We used to call it as a procedure oriented programming language. Okay, so this is very important, and keep it in mind whenever someone asks you what type of language the COBOL. So the COBOL, which is going to be a procedure oriented language, this is going to be a very important one. So students, make note of these things. Okay, whenever I'm insisting on something, so kindly make note of those things. So COBOL, which is going to be an though it's going to be an which supports some features of high level language, we used to call it a procedure oriented language. And then the next thing, so basically here, this format of COBOL program, you have a table-like structure. That particular table-like structure we used to call it coding sheets. Okay, so we used to have a coding sheets or table-like structure. So in this coding sheets, to the maximum, we are going to have some 80 columns, 80. Okay, 80 columns that we're going to have, and then we have some structure that to be followed in this 80 columns. For example, whenever that you're going to mention the page number, you have to mention the page number within the column 1 and 1 2 3. So that's going to be the first condition that we have. So whenever that you're going to include the page number in your coding sheet, you have to include the page number between the column 1 2 and 3. So you have to mention it within this, and then whenever that you're going to use the line number, you have to mention it within 4 to 6, 4 5 and 6. So first 3 columns for page number, and next 3 columns for line numbers. So that's the thing. So we used to call these numbers as sequence number. Both these page numbers and line numbers, basically we used to call this as an sequence numbers. Okay, and then the next thing, we are going to start our coding process, our entry process from column 8. So this column 8 is very, very important. So we are going to start our coding here. So basically we have some various divisions. Normally the language that you have learned, like C language, we used to have what header files. Only based on the header files your program used to work. Similarly here in COBOL language, we used to add some various divisions. So we have some various divisions like identification division, and then environment division, and then data division and procedure division. So these are the 4 important divisions that we have as identification, environment, data, and then procedure division. So these are the 4 divisions normally we have. So all these divisions must be included in column 8. And then we could start our coding. So normally we used to start our coding from the procedure division. So down to the procedure division, we used to start our coding. So we could start our coding from column 11 or column 12. You could start. Okay. So this is the thing that we have related to the format of COBOL program, about page number, about line number, and then where you have to add the divisions. You have to add the divisions between 8 and 12, and then you could start coding between column 11 to column 80. You could start coding, and then so we could code the process between column 12 and 72, and then you have some more columns like 73 and 80. So normally we won't use this column. So compiler used to ignore this column number 73 to 80. So totally we have maximum of 80 columns. Okay. So this is going to be the overall format of COBOL program. So we have a coding sheet, and then we have some various column numbers. Based on the column numbers only we are going to code. So the column numbers are starting from 1 and 80. We have column numbers. So 1 to 3 for page number, 4 to 6 for line number. And you could start your coding between, you could include your divisions between 8 and 12, and you could start your coding between 11 or 12 to 72. So these are the things about format of COBOL program. And then, so these are the column fields that's been mentioned clearly. So 1 to 3 for page number and 4 to 6 for line number. And both these things, 1 to 6, we used to call it as a sequence number. And 7, suppose you have to include some comments in your program. So you could mention it in column 7. So whenever that you're going to add something, for For example, what is the title that you're going to give to your program, or it may be some description about those program. So all those things you could include in column 7. And then you have two margins, margin A and margin B, or else we used to call it an area A or area B. Margin A for including some entries like division entries or section entries. We used to mention it in margin A, and then the coding part will comes from column 12 to column 72. So these are the various columns that we have. Normally we used to ignore the column numbers starting from 73 to column number 80. So these are the things that we have related to your format of COBOL program. And sometimes we used to use this asterisks to denote the command line. So whenever you're going to start using command line, or whenever you're going to type the command line, you have to start it with asterisks and then you have to type your commands. So these are the things about format of COBOL program. And the next one is about structure. So this is very, very important, because whatever the program that you're going to type in your using your editor, so normally we have some editor, a blue color editor to edit your program, and then in those editor, surely you have to mention these divisions. Without these divisions, we won't be able to perform anything. But here some divisions are optional and some divisions are mandatory. So these are the 4 important divisions that we have as identification, environment, data division, and procedure division. So we're going to see these things in detail. So identification division, which consists of who is the author and date of writing the program. So when you're going to start writing the program and who is the author, so those things could be mentioned under identification. So to identify who is the author and when you're going to start your program, so those things could be mentioned using identification division. And next one is about environment division. So you have the details about the computer environment where you're going to work. So what is the computer environment that you're going to use, and what is the compiler that you're going to use. So where you're going to write and where you're going to compile. So those things will be mentioned under environment. So what is the environment that you're going to work on? And the next one is about data division. So data division in this sense, so normally what are the program that you're going to do? We need some data to process. Without data, we won't be able to process anything. So, so what are the various data that you're going to use? So all those data names will be mentioned under this data division. So this is very, very important. So identification division is mandatory and data division is mandatory. Environment division, which is an optional one, we could use that, else we could ignore it. And then the next one, procedure division. Procedure division is which is an final one and which is a very, very important one in COBOL programming language. So we used to have some executable COBOL statements here. So using this procedure division only, normally we used to code your program. So under procedure division, we used to add some various paragraphs like paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4. So under each and every paragraph, we used to mention the code, or we used to type the code that to be executed for your program. And sometimes we used to have sections for to name a few. We have sections like working storage section or file section. So whenever you're going to use file, surely you have to mention it under data division. Under working storage section only, we used to name what are the data names that you're going to include in your program. Okay, so based on the working storage section only, you would be able to know what are the various data names that you're going to use in your program. Okay, and then sometimes we used to add a hyphen in column 7, so that which indicates the continuation of the first line and next line. So instead of typing everything in one line, we could continue it, or we could continue it in the next line. So to make the continuation of the first line and next line, you have to include a hyphen in column 7. So already we have discussed column 7, which could be used to indicate what command lines. At the same time, to denote the continuation of the program statements, you could use this hyphen as an option in column 7. Okay, so these are things about structure of program. And students,
Yes, sir.
students, suppose by 10 kindly intimate me, ma. By
Okay,
9:57 kindly intimate me, so I will stop the session. Okay,
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
check it out and intimate me by 9:57, so I will stop the session exactly by 10. Okay,
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 sir.
sir.
okay, good. So I'm going to continue it again. Continue with the next slide. So the next one is about character set. In character set, in the sense, very simple. There is nothing more to discuss on this character set. So character set in the sense, whatever the characters that you're going to use in your programming language, all those characters together, by grouping all those characters together, we used to call it some character set. So we have some various character sets. We have listed something here. For example, we used to use these numerals 0 to 9 because to name some data names, to code something in your program, we used to use this numeric values. So we used to use 0 to 9, and alphabets A to Z. We have some capital A to Z, or small A to Z. We used to use English alphabets. And the next one, minus sign. It could be used in two manner, as hyphen sign and also as minus sign. Okay, and the next one, plus sign, and then asterisk sign. So these are all these things are actually arithmetic operators. This minus, plus, asterisk, and slash. All these things we used to use it as an arithmetic operators, sometimes as special characters. And then you have equal sign, and then you have currency sign, and then you have a comma, semicolon. The dot, we used to call the dot as a decimal point, or else we used to call it period. Sometimes, suppose you're going to use that particular dot within a value, we used to call it as decimal point. But sometimes, to denote the end of the statement, we used to use the dot, which is going to be the period, okay, or end of that particular statement. And then we used to use the quotation marks, left parenthesis, right parenthesis, greater than symbol, and less than symbol. So basically, by collection of these numeric characters and then letters and special characters, all these things we used to call it as a character set. To do any program, normally we need this character set. Without this character set, we won't be able to perform anything. So character set, we could group into some three parts as numerals, alphabets, and then special characters. Numerals in the sense 0 to 9, letters in the sense capital A to capital Z, special characters in the sense whatever the characters that I have listed in this slide. So all those characters you could use. You must not use any other characters other than these whatever that I have mentioned over here in this slide. Okay. So this is about character set. So now we have come to the end of the slide. So what are the things that we have to complete? So all those things I have included with this presentation. So coming back, I would like to ask some questions to you people. Okay. Okay. So totally, you have some 11 members here in this meet. So Divya.
Sir?
Divya, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So we have discussed some various things. Would you please mention, or would you please summarize the content, whatever that we have discussed now?
Sir, format of the COBOL, structure of the COBOL,
Good, good.
characteristics.
Very good. So that's it. So these are things actually we have discussed. The first one is about history, and the next one which is about format of COBOL program, and third one which is about structure of COBOL program, and fourth one which is about the character set. So these are the things that we have discussed in this presentation. Okay, good. The next question goes to Harinath.
Yes, sir.
Harinath, in history of COBOL program, we have some various versions. Okay, what are the various versions that we have in COBOL?
Sir, DOS.
So what are the various versions that we have?
Sir, தெரியல சரியா.
Okay, it's not a problem. So we have various versions. One which is about ANSI version, and another version which is about COBOL 85. So these are the versions that we have related to COBOL, and then we have some standards that to be that we have to keep it in mind. So the two standards are, the first one which is about CODASIL, Conference on Data Systems and Language. That's going to be one of the important standard. Those who maintain or manage the entire COBOL language. And then another one standard which is about ANSI, American National Standard Institute. So these are the two important standards that we have. Okay, and then this particular language came into existence by 1959, and then they developed this compiler 4 years later after the language existence. So these things are very very important related to history of COBOL language. Okay, okay. The next question, Harshni,
Yeah.
what is the abbreviation for COBOL? Hello. Okay. So the abbreviation for COBOL is nothing but CO stands for common.
Yep.
Okay, and B stands for business. O stands for oriented language. Okay. So Harshini, this is going to be the abbreviation for COBOL. We used to call it as a common business oriented language. The purpose of this particular language is to manage some business applications. Okay, so now also in United States they are managing so many applications using COBOL language. Okay, and then during the lockdown, this particular lockdown period, at the start of the lockdown period, actually they asked for some programmers in COBOL to manage their applications. So most of the applications, business-based applications, business-related concerns, for managing their applications, they are using this particular COBOL language. So that's why we used to call it as a common business-oriented language. Okay, and then Kanya.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what type of language it is?
So voice break అవుతుంది sir.
What type of language it is? Any type of language is it?
High level language.
High level language, and then exactly we used to call it as
High level
procedure
program.
oriented programming language. So that's very important, ma. Normally which
Okay, sir.
comes under high level language because we are going to use some various high level features, so we used to call it high level language, but normally we used to call this language as an procedure oriented programming language. So in one mark normally they used to ask what type of language it is. You have to mention it as high level procedure oriented programming language. So that's very important, because we have procedure division. So normally you have four divisions. So fourth division, which is going to be procedure division. So under procedure division only we are going to write the procedure. So based on the procedures, whatever that we're going to code in your editor of the COBOL program, your entire COBOL program used to work. So normally under procedure division, we used to mention paragraph 1, paragraph 2, and paragraph 3, and paragraph 4. So under each and every paragraph, we are going to have some various set of statements. So each and every set of statement which used to process something. Okay, so based on those statements only the entire program used to work. So those things we used to call it as an procedure division. So based on this procedure division only we are naming this particular language as procedure oriented programming language. Okay, so that's the thing. The next one, Maya, Ritik.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so under character set we have three parts. So what are the three parts that we have under character set?
தெரியாது sir.
Okay, so character setல வந்து மூணு இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் பார்ட்ஸ் எடுத்துட்டோம்னா ரொம்ப சிம்பிள். ஒன்று வந்து numeric values, so starting from 0 to 9. Whatever the numeric values that you're going to include within your code, we used to call those things as numerical value 0 to 9. And second one, which is about alphabets or letters, starting from capital A to capital Z. And third one, which is about special characters. So I have mentioned some special characters in this slide, so we have to use those special characters alone. So together this numerals, alphabets or letters, and then the last one, which is about special characters. So together all these grouping, these three things together, we used to call it as a character set. So character means each and every individual character we used to call it as a character. Okay, For example, A is in character, 0 is in character, 1 is in character, semicolon is in character. So each and every individual symbol we used to call it as in character. But by grouping all these things, we used to call it as in character set. Set means you people know. By grouping everything, we used to call it as set. So it's very simple. So that's about character set. And then Surya. Surya, are
Sir,
you there? Surya, are you
sir.
there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what are the 4 divisions that we have in COBOL language? 4 divisions.
Oh, difference.
4 divisions. So under structure of COBOL program, we have discussed this 4 divisions. What are the 4 divisions that we have? Okay, the 4 divisions are identification, the first division, second one which is going to be environment, and third one which is going to be data division, and fourth one which is going to be procedure division. Okay, so these are the 4 important divisions that we have in COBOL programming language. Okay, and then okay, Malavika, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Malavika, would you please tell me the purpose of identification division? Okay, the purpose of identification division is normally we used to identify something from this identification division. So, what are the things that we're going to identify? The first one, who is the author who is going to code that particular program? யார் வந்து இந்த ப்ரோக்ராமை கோட் பண்றாங்க அப்படின்னு தெரிஞ்சுக்கிறதுக்காண்டி we used to mention the author name. Okay, that's about the one of the thing about identification division. And next one, the date of coding that particular program, when we are coding that particular program. So 2 things which is being mentioned under identification division. The first one which is about the author of the program, and second one which is about the date of written, when you are going to write that particular code. So these are the 2 important things that we have under identification division. Muthukumar, are you there? Okay, good. The next one. So what is the importance of data division? Okay, so the data division. So what are the data names that we're going to use? Similar to the variables in C programming language, here we have various data names. So instead of using the terminology variables, here in COBOL programming language, we are going to use the term data names. So C language நீங்க variables ன்னு சொல்லுவோம் இல்லையா, அதே மாதிரி இங்க COBOL வந்து data names அப்படிங்கிற terms வந்து நம்ம யூஸ் பண்ணுவோம். Okay, so இந்த data names யூஸ் பண்ணி தான் we used to get the data and process the data and output the data. Okay, ஒரு ப்ரோக்ராமுக்கு ஒரு இன்புட்டை கெட் பண்றது, ப்ராசஸ் பண்றது, அவுட்புட்டை டிஸ்பிளே பண்றது, for all these things we need some data, and then to store those data we need a data name. So that's why we are using data names. So data name which is going to be in structure. For example, it is going to be in box. To that particular box we are going to put something, a value. Okay, using the value we are going to process something. So data name is nothing but a placeholder to store the value and to process the value. So that's about data name. So all those data names whatever you're going to use in your program, all those will be mentioned under data division. So the divisions or the names which I'm identify பண்ணிக்கலாம் why we are using it and what's the purpose of using it. So data division is nothing but to mention or to list out the data names in your program. We are using what your data division. Okay, and then okay, good. So Divya, you have answered. Karinath, you have answered. Tarshini, okay. Kanya, Surya, Malvika, Ritik, and Muthukumar. And who is that? Suresh? Nidhu Suresh?
Sir, yes, sir.
Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, ma. So, what's the importance of procedure division?
Sir, it contains certain procedures, sir.
Okay, good.
First three, the rows 1 to 3 are mentioned with 1, 2, and 3, sir.
Okay.
And the rows are mentioned as with the alphabet, sir. A, B, and the next 3.
Okay.
Sir, that's all I know, sir.
Okay. So coming back, So procedure division in the sense normally, so what are the code that you have to code in your program? So all those coding or all those statements will be listed or will be mentioned under the procedure division. Okay. So for example, the procedure division which is being segregated into some various parts as paragraphs, as paragraph 1, 2, 3, and 4. So each and every paragraph which consists of some few statements related to the program. Okay. So each and every statement which is to process something. So based on these statements only, your program which used to work. Okay. So that's about procedure division. So procedure division which consists of some paragraph. So each and every paragraph which consists of some statements. Based on those statements only, your program which used to process or which, program used to do something. So that's the thing about procedure division. And then the last one, who is Sarnima? Sharni, are you there?
Sharon, sir.
Okay, Sherin. Okay, but here it has been mentioned as SHERI and something. Okay, Sherin, we have discussed on format of COBOL program about coding sheet. Okay, in coding sheet we have some various column numbers. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, which has been used for what? 1, 2, 3, which has been used for mentioning your
Names.
no 1, 2, 3, which is being used to mention your page numbers, and then 4 to 6, which is being used to mention your line numbers, and together we used to call these numbers as sequence numbers. So starting from 1 until 6, what are the numbers that we're going to mention, either which is going to be page number or line number, we used to call this as sequence numbers. Okay. And then the next thing which is about column 7, which is to mention the continuation of the line using hyphen or using asterisks. You could mention the comment line, whatever that you're going to code in your program. That's for column 7. And starting from column 8 to column 72, which has been used to include the various divisions. Okay. You could include divisions and also the statements under procedure division. So all those coding parts which comes between column number 8 to 72. So all whatever the thing that you're going to code in your program, you have to code between column number 8 and column number 72. But totally we have about 80 columns in that particular coding sheet. Okay. So dear students, with this I would like to stop this session. So thanks for listening. And then in all the upcoming sessions, before the sessions I will post the link for Google Hangout Meet. Using that particular link, kindly join. So attendance is very important. So kindly listen to the classes and join to these classes properly. Okay. So with this
Okay.
I would like to end the session. Okay. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
One more
Thank
Thank
information.
you, sir.
Wait.
To hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Tell me, sir.
Can you able to hear me?
Good morning, sir. Tell
Good
me,
morning,
sir.
sir.
Actually, good morning. Good morning. Actually, I would like to ask the students to connect to the Google Classroom meeting link. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Hereafter, for all the classes,
Okay,
please
sir.
ask the students to join using the Classroom. In Google Classroom, they'll have a meeting link.
Okay,
Using
sir.
that, they are supposed to join. Okay, just inform them so that it will be easy for them as well as for me to track the sessions.
Sir, actually, students tried using those links, sir, but they
Okay.
won't able to join the meeting, sir.
No. I've tried only with that link. Now I am connected to it.
Okay,
Already
sir.
you're
Okay.
using that link only.
Yes, sir. I'm using that same link only, sir.
Yes. Everyone is working. Everything is working perfect. No issues. You can continue the same thing.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
The
Okay.
same way for
Okay.
my class also.
Okay,
For
sir.
all the faculty classes, ask them to get into the Google Classroom using
Okay,
that meeting link. They have to join.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank
I'll
you, sir.
start my session by 10:15. Ask them to join. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.